What's up, everybody? So you read the title, you know what we're going to talk about. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you how apprehensive I usually am when it comes to movies that are like super hyped. Because not a lot, but I've had a few times where a movie's been like so hyped up to the point where it's like there's no way it could be bad. And then I go in and see it and it's like slightly less than what everybody said and I come out disappointed, but it doesn't end up being a bad film, so I give it a little bit less credit than it's due. So I tried to shy away all the expectations that I had and I went into it with like a clear head, or at least I tried to. And it turns out this is one of those movies where I didn't need to do that because this movie did live up to what everybody was talking about. And right from the get, I was hooked because it's all about AI and like something mechanical becoming sentient or attaining behavior similar to a human. Like certain movies like Ghost in the Shell and like Terminator even kind of sort of touches on that. And like the Haley Joel Osment movie AI and Blade Runner is probably like the biggest one. And that's probably one of my favorite things that I see in movies, because when human emotions are the subject of the movie, it really begs you to question your own emotions and why you feel the way you feel in certain situations. In other words, I like movies that make you think, and this is one of those. And also, the cast is fucking sweet. You got Oscar Isaac's kind of playing like a Steve Jobs-y kind of dude, and then you got Domhnall Gleeson, aka the elder Weasley brother, and of course the now Academy Award-winning Alicia Vikander playing the android, and she is really good in this movie. And I also liked that despite the fact that this is a very like heady movie that makes you think a lot, it takes place in a really small kind of confined area, technically. So it kind of resembles, you know, any human being. Like on the surface, it's just like, oh, okay, this is like, you know, seems very basic, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually take the time and get to know somebody, there's like a whole wealth of knowledge and experiences that you can obtain just through talking to somebody. So it's like this little fun house of self-awareness. And that's kind of what the setting of this movie emulated, which is dope. And adding on to the way the movie looked, the special effects, or the small amount of special effects that they used, were on fucking point. Like, you know that some of the things aren't real because like human beings aren't capable of this kind of technology or whatever, so it's like, you know, it's fake. But it was like a really convincing fake. Like, it's the best fake $100 bill you've ever seen. And yet another thing that they did right was the music. Because it wasn't too terribly in your face, and it wasn't too like, hey, notice me because I'm the music and I'm the composer and I'm important. It was there that you noticed it, but it was subtle enough to the point where it didn't overpower everything else that was going on. Like, this is the kind of score that a horror movie should have. For me, the music fit the movie just perfectly. And the total icing cherry on top was the writer and the director. And that is Alex Garland. And if that name doesn't sound familiar, then you're pretty much in the same boat that I was. He wrote the Dread remake that we got a couple years ago, which turned out to be like surprisingly good. Dude also wrote 28 Days Later, which is probably my favorite horror movie of all time. And probably nobody will get this reference, but I had to bring it up. Alex Garland also wrote a little movie with Carey Mulligan in it about clones falling in love called Never Let Me Go. And it is easily in my top 20 greatest films of all time. If you have not seen Never Let Me Go, check that movie out. It is brilliant. But anyway, back to the movie. So all that was good, and Alex Garland is a champion, and I thoroughly liked the movie a lot. Now, for the things I didn't like, which there's almost nothing, there was one little bit about the end that wasn't really quite explained, but I think it was meant to be, you know, open to interpretation as to why a certain particular thing happened. I won't say what it is, so I'll just let you be the judge. I didn't hate the ending, but I was just, I felt like I wanted a little bit more clarity out of it for some reason. But really, the only thing that I really wasn't a fan of was like the first half hour, 45 minutes of the movie, because it was really slow. When you get introduced to the characters, it's like kind of cool, like, all right, like you're kind of like, they're kind of interesting, whatever. But there's nothing really attention grabby in the first half hour to 45 minutes. And once the plot starts to like thicken, like way more as you learn about like the two main characters in the android, like then it starts to get really fucking interesting. But just that first half hour, it was just really fucking slow. And I might just be hard of hearing or something, but it felt like they were mumbling a lot for the first like half hour-ish of the movie, so I had a little trouble with that. Luckily, I had the subtitles on for a little bit, but it did kind of bug me a little bit. So all in all, there wasn't a whole lot not to like about the movie. This movie pretty much had everything going for it, and it definitely swung for the fences. Was it the most aesthetically pleasing film I've ever seen? No, not particularly, but I can still acknowledge the fact that this is a great story with good characters, and it was just a fucking well-made movie overall. And I did like the ending, despite the one little facet that I didn't understand. So for a rating, I think I'm gonna give it about 8.8. I think the pacing is probably the only thing that's keeping it from being a 9 or higher, but it doesn't matter. The movie's really enjoyable, and I would totally watch it again if somebody was just like, hey, why don't we watch this movie? I'd be like, fuck yeah. So if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. You should check it out, especially if you're into sci-fi. It's really cool. If you have seen the movie, though, drop me a comment and let me know how you feel about it. Besides that, if you liked the video, give me a like, subscribe, do all that other shit, and I'll catch you guys later.